I'm still in this demo account, and I'm trading the euro dollar with scripts. And I set my scripts to last 4 hours for the 4 deep. So this is what it looks like when I launch this current version, just on the euro only. So it looks like this for the number 4 key. So I'm just running 4 keys. This is the 4-hour buy stop. It's buy stop only. And this is the 3-hour buy stop. And they're all the same entry price. So it's really hard stop entry. Now you just wait. So we had this double bottom here, and I bought this double bottom right at the bottom on stops. So if it comes back up, we'll get filled. And I trade this bounce off of this, and then here's the triple bottom at an angle. But I think it depends how much you want to risk. So here I'm risking the dotted line is set at 20 pips. So if I have a buy stop here that's about, I think it's 2 pips above, I'll get picked up on the ride up. 2 pips above. And then I threw in buy limits here for 8 hours. So I don't want to have to babysit this thing if it goes down lower. So I'll buy as it plunges. I'll also buy it as it reverses right now. So I'm going to put in stops right now. This is a new low. So you want to buy all these new lows. And got the pivot thing sitting right perfectly on the. It's a 4-hour pivot set now. It's right. This middle price is right dead on, picking the congestion here. So now buy stops. And if the market's really zooming up, they won't fill you, which is okay because it's going to keep you out of the trade if it's going to keep plunging. It's going, and this thing picked perfectly this number for some reason, the floor. So that's marked off. I think it's all set the closing prices. I don't know if there's any high or low set into this indicator. This is the last video I did about the indicator, how to trade this indicator. But this gives you a little bit of confidence that you know that the targets are right there on the yellow line, and you're going to get in the blue. So you're in the blue zone, and then you make a run either way. And if we do run up, I don't know if you want to sell up there for a bounce off that. I guess you scalp off anything. That's the thing. You can always scalp off of just about anything out there. There's no rule that you have to trade a 4-hour or a 4-month chart. You can just trade a 5-minute chart, but you have to know when it's time to get out for the obvious scalp. And then you're like, well, you know, this could keep going through the floor. So when you're buying low like this, it's just like any other thing. You know, it's not any magic. A double bottom is not, you know, it can confirm or deny, but that's based on your stops. But if you think about the guy that is buying that low, where is his stops? If you buy his stops off of him, then you're getting the best price in the world. You're getting something that's, there's liquidity down there because people do have stops in there, because who wants to ride something down for 1,000 pips? So if the euro just keeps, we're still making new historical lows even today, slightly. But we're cutting through prices that go way back. And how do you play this? This is a 4-hour chart. So sure, you could have said, oh, I'm going to trade this channel here, and I'm going to buy and I'm going to sell this channel as we range through this perfect bottom becomes a top here. If you knew this price, if you knew this price here, you know that you have this channel and you're looking to buy here, but it fails. And maybe you sold on a breakout, volatility breakout here, so you're actually making, right now you're up on this trade just from, this is low ATR here, and you had just sell stops running and buy stops, maybe you get chopped out, maybe you took profits on that. So there's a lot of maybes. But if you're making, if you just made 5 cents or $50 right here, that makes a complete difference psychologically. So if your whole goal is to just buy a, so this is your buy limit sitting here because you're thinking this is going to be a double bottom, but it's more likely you're going to get a double bottom when they're further apart, right? So this, the single bottom exists, and if the theory is true, you're going to buy the next bottom. Well, maybe they stop you out. Then you get this bottom, so you say, I'm going to put a buy limit here, and you get retagged and bagged here, and it's a beautiful trade. And on this trend line, it's the only place you would have got filled, because horizontally, I don't think you get it filled on that. Spread's too wide, maybe. So if you literally had a precise buy limit sitting here, oh, they almost filled you. And that was a scalp to here again. Just speaking in scalping terms, always, just because you'd have to, even if there's no trades out there, if you have the ability to scalp, instead of waiting for some big kahuna trade, the moolah trade, the moolah setup. Some guy has a video called the moolah trade, and I thought, well, this is a weird, is this like candlestick? Is this like a dark star meets a gravestone and they have sex? Like, what is this thing? I got to see this. But turns out it's just moolah, like as in mucho dinero. And I'm like, oh boy, okay. Yeah, that would make sense. We do want to make money. But so is this euro going to keep going down? Is this the bottom? I don't know. Who cares? So the breakout traders have had their fun. They're up on that trade right now. And then, so you should be able to redraw any pattern if you're a pattern trader in 20 seconds. It shouldn't be like this Fibonacci tool stuff. You're just like, okay, pick out the bottoms. I finally found a student I think that's going to work out, because the other guy, as much as I love him, he's got a cat, so I'm on Skype with him. And I haven't even brought up the issue. And he says, my cat keeps getting on my laptop. And I thought, well, hopefully we're not trading off that laptop, you know. Then he gets locked out of the system. He boots up, and the cat inadvertently hit the perfect sequence and locked him out of the computer. And I thought, oh, that's a problem. See, that's why, who would want to have all their money in one broker account? I just don't get that exposure people are into. But it's too much work to open another account. Okay, well, I don't know. So this kid I found, my friend's son, he's probably about 16 years old, and doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't have any, like, oh, gee, I remember when that happened. So he doesn't have I've been bit by a dog. He's been bit by a dog. And to hear people say, oh, I tried that, and I remember I got burned. Well, you probably tried that idea too big. In other words, you wanted to build a new car, and you decided you're going to make 5,000 copies of it because you thought it was the coolest car in the world. Turns out nobody wants to buy it. So there's always the prototype. You release a prototype to see how anybody bites. Okay? So if the scalp is a prototype, and you're just looking for little bits of money to make here and there, not a lot of money, but just training yourself to accept the risk acceptance, training your brain to say, oh, I don't care, just like, this is silly, I'll just put an order in. What's the worst going to happen? Now, being wrong may be more painful than losing money. Who knows? Being wrong is certainly what the cause of the when you're disturbed by being wrong is only because you spent so much time on your Fibonacci tools or whatever you're saying that's going to project it, channels, whatever. Not realizing that there's still just good old horizontal price, right? So momentum trading, you're saying, well, it went down for 5 days, it could bounce for 3 days, and that's a hell of a swing trade, and you just basically banked a bunch of money. Of course, realizing that you don't have to trade that big on a swing trade to make some money. I just made in 40 seconds on a standard lot. Like, so if a guy made, if you had an order bank in there that had 80K in there, and it was just a flash crash in the market, when the news comes out, you lay this grid bank and it hits it and it reverses, you made money. You're like, that's crazy. That doesn't make sense. Like, how? You shouldn't be doing that. But why not? So I'm doing it on this demo account, which I'm still fine-tuning the scripts here. Trading the dollar yen. I mean, trading the yen against 6 pairs, and I was able to get that to And this one I am running the pivot meister on this one. That thing I rewrote it, I suppose. And here's all my grids coming in. So this account I cashed out. I was up $9 using $6 of margin this morning, so I knew the ratios were incredible, so I just bailed on that trade. And then I just reloaded buy limits on everything without regard to anything. Sadly. And the thing is, look at this. Look at these buy limits here. Is this not a great entry? Like, if this is going up, don't you want to buy on pullbacks? They say that all the time. Oh yeah, well, people that are trend traders, they're like, this thing, I'm so convinced this is going up, I'm willing to get stopped out. Then some people say, oh, don't buy a double bottom. You're going to get stopped out. Well, dude, if you're a trend trader, you're ready to be in a relationship for 40 years, and if you're lucky, you don't kill the person you're with. If you're lucky. And so who's to know how far this market's going to pull back? Who's going to step up to the plate and give me the forecast crystal ball trade? Nobody could. So to participate and get involved in a trade, we need to have risk. We need to gamble. We need to have money we can just burn. We don't have to worry about. Because we're never going to be able to predict how, is this the low, or is it going to go lower? Is this the high, or is it going to go higher? And only the market can tell you, so you have to at least have a little bit in there. This way, much to your surprise, when the market goes the way you think it's going to go, well, I mean, being betrayed by people that have said, oh, you got to do it like this. Like, everything I'm saying in these videos, like I said, I was contradicting myself only because I'm trying to speak in politically correct trading terms that people are used to. Well, I see a doji, I see this, right? But if the doji was small, there's a great trade for a doji, and that works all day long. You can just see it on the chart. It's just telling you the market's not going anywhere. Which, how long could that possibly last? And that's a great stop entry, I think. It's asking to be entered on some type of tight range for an early scalp, and then maybe it does. Who knows? Every next minute's unique. So, since you don't know where the market's going, you have kind of this feeling, well, we're in an uptrend. Look at how to read a chart, right? It's like palm reading. Let's face it. I don't know why people are still trying to sell that. Let's read a chart. Let's read a book. We're all going to come away with different interpretations of that book. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. Some people are offended. The market offends me when it stops me out. So my cure was to trade without stops and just put limited amount of money in the account. And I would just say to myself, okay, I'm risking this much money. There's nothing wrong with that, other than the fact that people would say, well, if you take that concept to $1 million account, you're going to blow the fucking account up. Really, duh. Like, so if I have a prototype that's this little baby car that have the model version, the cardboard version, I test drive that, and then then I keep taking it to the next thing and make a little bit larger version, take it to full scale. Certainly a full scale, producing a bunch of cars and making what you think is the most awesome car, you're gonna go out of business there. So but not being I mean, if you have a technique of trading the market, and you have that on one separate account, and everything's just, you're like, okay, you just move on to the next concept. Because there's nothing you're going to do to fix the future. You could back test it till you're blue in the face. There's nothing going to help you trust going forward running that thing. I think it's probably the hardest thing in the world. I don't think I would actually buy so control freaks really do get punished in the market because they're like, I know where this is going. Or they want to think they can manage their way out of it or something. and you get hurt like that, right? So if you're like what revenge trading, or not revenge trading, but you're just trading out of sheer damn it, I the impatience of waiting for this market to doji out. Like if it's waiting for the doji to form, you're like, damn it, I mean, I know we're going up here. It's like I'm just gonna buy some here. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done that. And of course, if your trigger's set to just launching 22 shells and you've got like 400 rounds, it's different than if you've got 2 elephant guns and you've only got 4 bullets. And so definitely want to trade this. Is spread the risk as much as you can possibly spread it, and I mean that's just easier done than said actually on this thing, because you can just hit a button and it can just lay in a grid of orders. Okay, now we're tanking on the euro. I'm gonna put buy stops in on this as it comes down. So go back to the demo account here. So these are my 1, 2, 3, 4 hour orders. So I can stack this up here, and the targets are only to the top of that 4 hour bar. So we're going into big lows. Could we drop about 50 pips, 30 pips right now? So I guess the channel here right now is like this. You would take this and you would copy this line and first find the middle of the pitchfork. So I suppose, so here's the channel that it's outside of right now, if you're channel trading that. It just keeps popping up. Here's the double top on the 4 hour, so you're coming into that right now. And here's the ultimate target for the downside. Okay, so what time is it? We got 10 minutes. It's 15 after 10 Eastern Standard Time. I'll just put a massive amount of buy stops in here. Anyways, just to see if I can lock stops in on top of that, since I don't have enough limits down there. So the balance between getting filled on limits down here and getting filled on stops, I think, is the ultimate, to get that in the sweet spot, so you're you get the fattest position for the highest probability trade. Okay, so we've been a trap down here, was just creaking through the floor. So still buying the, another thing is, if you want to buy a double bottom and you think this is the bottom still, like when it's all said and done, if this closes up here, if you look back in closing prices, people will say there was a bottom there you could have bought, which is 500 pips below where you're at now. So how would this look in the future? Everything you're looking at right now, what will people say about that in the future? They'll say, no big deal. Went down an insane low. So if I put the buy stops on top here and lock into it as it comes back, comes roaring back, we could scalp to the floor here. These 2 buttons get out here, and then the other 2 buttons are getting out here. This is the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour entries. I mean exits. So the take profit zones are right here for the scalps. Of these are like 2 scalps and that's a 3 hour and that's a 4 hour. So if the market retraces in the next in that amount of time, so we're just getting in on this trap down here. And I want to go super heavy on the scalps, so I'll just hit the left key like 5 times and I'm in a 5K if we come flying back. If we don't and we plunge, I will not get filled on these. So it's a whole tactical thing of setting up a breakout zone and having a buy limit zone, so that whatever happens, you can take advantage of both strategies. So you're like, or you have a sell stop in now and you're like, it's going to keep crashing. I'm going to sell right now to stop. Because we could probably plunge about 30 pips right now. And you would scalp that and realize, you know what? That's over. It's just too much, right? It would just go down 40 pips right now and then maybe come slamming back and take out the high of the week. So this week started right here. You barely see it on here, but right here is the beginning of the week. So had you bought the double bottom on Sunday night, you done good. And if you played the trap trade here with sell limits here, no fill here, but if you put your sell bank up here, you made money this way. If you put a sell limit at the closing double top, and yes, you can sell, contrary to some people's amateur belief, you can put a sell limit up here with a stop here, and without babysitting the market, you can take advantage of that trade. It's total myth that you're going to wait for confirmation on that. I'm going to trust me. If your intention was to sell here and you didn't babysit that, to trade it at the market like a goof. If you had sell limits here, you didn't even get filled. So, but this top to this top makes this very important. That is the fill. Forget this trading at the market, amateur hour. You'll hear that on the internet. People are charging you $5,000 for the 12-week transformation, so they can tell you that it's risky. Trading's risky. So just trade a demo. Let's just see how risky this is. So I'm just going to keep punching this key for the scalp. And I'm going to put these limits in. These are the 1 hour. Buys 5 pips to 10 pips. This is the half hour. This should be set to a longer time frame. Here's the dojis. So I could put a doji in right now. Stack this one up. See what happens. So if it kept going down, and I didn't have to decide this thing. Say I'm on the 5-minute chart here. Hope this is going to load. So if I'm on the 5-minute, so here is the breakdown. We want to buy right here. So I'll just lay a massive bank in here. Get picked up on the best price down here. So it's I think there might be news coming out about in the hour. Okay, more buy stops for the scalp. Now they haven't filled some of these buy stops because I put them 2 pips above. And the 4-hour ones are still sitting up here waiting to get filled. So I gotta be careful not to overload the entry. So here's the 1 minute. So we definitely want our buy stops. They're 2 pips away, so we're on the top of that 1 minute fractal right now. Okay, looking for a roar back recovery or possible plunge. So the doji looks like this. It's inside there. This one's going to trade if it goes either way here. So to see if you're another thing, without regard to whether you're making money or not, if you write a doji script, if you break a dual breakout script, and then when you're trading the demo, just pay attention to how you feel about not deciding what's going to happen. So to let go of deciding, let the market just prove you right. Let it decide for you. Because it knows better. It knows when it's done tanking. And so it's critical time. It's coming into the bottom of the hour here. We could drop another 50 pips though. Right after we pause here on the 1 minute, this bottom would become a top, and you would say, all right, well, you know what? Let's put some sell stops in now. And how do you want the market to involve you on its own? It gets you get filled and you get pulled in naturally, or do you want to try to guess the next place it's going to go? Here's the stop. Here's the limit orders would have maybe got filled up here. Probably not. Okay, so the trap down here. Here's a trend line to break on the 1 minute. So we already broke it back there, I guess you could say. This is where everybody's thinking, here's the 1 minute channel. Copy this over. That would be a target. There was definitely the target here. Of course, that would have had to been like this. Kind of this steeper channel. There's a nice steep channel. So this one keys up good. Change colors. This one's a little bit longer term. So the rate of change here is pretty tame. So that was a steeper channel right there. So that's plenty to worry about. And if you do like a miter box, so here's your support as you're walking down this channel in 1 minute. And just keep dragging this to the next bottom that's supposed to hold. So you can trade confirmation of that. Here is a double bottom, becomes a double top right at these this price, and then down, and okay. Let's see if this is the big sale of the week. So here's the 15, there's the 1. Let's go to the okay, now we could go right through the floor now. Put the 1 minute on the right side. And here I'm just going to put the 1 hour. Alright, well, we just got to wait it out. Nothing we can do. I got bored waiting for this market to update, so I redid the indicator. I'm just going to make this. This is the 1 hour version of the same orders, and I took away all the plus and minus signs, so I'm just running it. Just colors. Pretty colors. Look at it bounce off that. That's the 1 minute chart. Look at the respect this thing has for my pivot system. I'm telling you what. So what I did is I changed the middle pivot to a solid white. And so say you fair value is still down here based on 1 hour data, and on both time frames, this is the 1 hour. You can see that that white line there is the white line here, which doesn't look like a good place to get in here, but here on the 1 minute chart looks like a fair value breakout scalp to this thing. If your spread was tight enough, the blue to blue is the spread right now, 1 minute chart. So this is the trap for the bulls. They're trapping them now in the 1 minute. 5 minute. A lot of people are just already out. They're already out of this thing. And once again, the Holy Grail indicator calls each bottom here, as you can see. But now it's set to 1 hour. So in 1 hour, this thing's going to change. All these numbers are going to change. It's riding along with the market. So right here, and at the end of this hour, it's going to lock this in, and it's going to reassess the ATR really, based on the last known volatility pivots. So if I come back here at noon, and I'm just buying this, of course this pivot might have been one of these blue dotted lines down here when that was forming. But I've loaded up pretty hard here, and unfortunately they've already taken me out of something, so I'm going to go and buy more now. So I don't think I'm in big enough. If we're really going to go, if this is really the trap trade, then I want to ride this for a bigger retracement. Going the other way. So I'm going to hit the load the wagon button. So I got 4 tickets. Trying to be a disciplined trader. So my targets are way up at that yellow line. So just because I change time frames, the prices won't change on here, which is nice. And look, when you're in the 1 hour, look how perfectly it called that top. But it's just based on the price now looking into that. So silly. You gotta love indicators. It's like a stop clock. So you could set this to 15, and this would keep changing every 15 minutes. If I go in here, I'm calling this spectrum, this indicator. The other version I published has all of the all the names turned on, plus or minus. So at the top of this thing is where you set the times. I set all 3 of these. I have no idea what they're connected to. I just know if I put this to M15, it's going to be very active. I don't think I can set it to M5. I think I can, but M15 would be bad enough, I think. So the let's see, M15. Okay, M15. Compile it. I'm still calling it H1. I didn't rename it. I can't get to my name keys here. So I think it just refreshed it based on 15 now. So no longer, now it's super close to market. And your targets are super tight. So if you go to the 1 hour, if you go to the 4 hour, this is the, okay. If we come roaring back here, then they've trapped all the bears down there. Targets are going to be up on that yellow line. This is kind of a fun way to trade, I suppose. At least if you're active trading, you can see it change every so I'm going to put this, since I rewrote it, but 15 minutes. This is the 4 hour chart. Okay, we come crashing through the top of this. And we go full psycho run. And hopefully we're scalping out. See, now I'm out of too much too early. I should have bought more down there. Now you can put in buy limits if you really like the trade. So here's where all the sellers are going to come in, right on the floor. So when this pivot was going on down here, you're getting a killer price down there. So this should update in 4 minutes. So we got about 20 seconds before this chart should update, and we'll get new pivots. And then, well, I don't know. We have to really go through this zone here. Okay, 5 seconds, and then everything got wider. So now you would have deeper limits, and maybe your orders lasted 15 minutes. Now you could throw in an order bank deeper. But once again, you have this magical confluence on these lines. Now the pivot's here on the 15. So you're on the 1 minute chart. You've got a pivot up at the top now. But look how it's perfectly touching there. And then right here. Here's a 15. There's a 30. Look how in this thing, it just calls this perfectly up in here. We're on this, we set to 15 minutes on this. And that's crazy, isn't it? That's very, that banks must be using this indicator. I've tapped into something here. I'm going to keep a lookout out my window here for black helicopters tonight. You can see that's going to happen. Now I've cracked this. I don't even want to publish this video now. Having this much power in my hands, it's kind of scary. Kind of wince a little bit. Alright, we're just going to have to wait it out. Another 15 minutes, see what the ATR looks like. Another thing you could mark off to see the history. Or you could have the other one. I'm not able to run two of these overlaid in here because one cancels the other, unfortunately. Unless, I guess, you I don't know. Kind of stuck. To pick a time frame, name that template. So if the yellow line's up here, and then I put a yellow, if I know the last known stuff, but the orders only last 15 minutes, then that would keep you out of trouble. So we could put a buy limit on these things. You're only going to commit to 4 tickets, and these are the swing trade scalps off this bottom. You got to have a reason to trade, even if it's flipping a coin. As long as you wait, right? If you wait every hour to buy with a 10 pip stop, then you lose 10 pips per hour if you're wrong. And when the market turns around, goes the other way, and you're making money, it's like, it's crazy. I can't understand it. Well, how am I making money without deciding where the market's going? This is so wrong. That's not right. Nobody should be making money just guessing and gambling, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that at all. Look at this British pound going through the floor. It's just not right. Okay, can this thing take out the high of the day on the euro? Is this the ultimate bear trap down here? Wow. Rip your head off, bear trap. See, not big enough again still. Oh well. I'll buy in pullbacks. So the 30-minute trap here on the left chart's the 1 hour. Double bottom on the 15, I'm sure. I'm going to call that a double bottom. How about a single bottom? I'd take a girl with just one ass cheek, I guess. I just say, honey, just stand sideways. We'll be fine. No, not that side. All right. So we'll just wait. We'll wait out the ticker here. We're waiting for the 10 minutes to go by. I want to see what happens to my pivot thing. I've just blocked off the extremes of it. Come back in 10 minutes. I'm about 1 minute from updating this indicator, and we're just gonna see what happens to this pivot. And this pivot actually lands right at that doji amazingly when it's set to 15 minutes on here. And I'll probably get in cash out of this whole thing before we even get to the yellow line. So they'll be out, totally out of this trade. Okay, that's going to be, no, I guess it's a minute away. 1 more minute of an attempt to take out the high of the day, high of the week. So the high of the day is being clipped right now on the 15. right at my holy grail pivot right there. They just nailed it. Next target's here, next target's there. So my target, I'll be out of this whole trade before we get to the end zone. Okay, 30 seconds, 25 seconds here. Let's see what happens to this. I'm expecting it's going to change and get really wide. And maybe it's going to put my next target up here. So if I'm marking the targets, 15-minute targets, maybe it's going to end up here. It would be the one we just pick looking at it. And this one, the robot or the math's going to pivot math's going to pick the next one. And there you go. Well, so this becomes this line now. We still have a line here. It just happens to be a white line, dotted line. And no indication here. So I want to get into more of this on pullbacks, so I'm not in that much margin. I'm going to add to it and buy if it pulls back 5 pips. And if I gauge this to the last known pivot, which is just right here, right at the breakout. If I put in this 10 pip deep, here is my goes 10 all the way to 50 pips deep now. So if this is a real breakout, this is the really going to break out the high of the day. If you're looking at the 1 minute chart, it's like you broke out, you hardly pull back, and then you just follow through. You just rip your face off. So this is the pivot on the 15, looking at the 1 minute chart. And if they pull it back, even the slightest bit, I would buy more. So I've already got the account out of the danger zone from blowing it up. Here, if they stop me out of course, if they go crashing back too far, so with trailing buy limits, gauge to go long, there's a 2 hour. So this is actually pretty risky because it's 2 hours. You're going to buy 10 pips, 15 with a 30 stop. And here's the just set it and forget it, go to sleep, put it all the way down to here. Okay, another moment of truth. Are we going to keep cutting through here? Is this the real trap? And then let's just delete these. And plus your buy limits would go down deeper maybe, but maybe you're already long and you can see that that was the now your pivot's above this, almost above this area. Maybe that matters. But it's nice. It's the same on each chart if you keep the update the same. Look how this thing picks that double bottom dead nuts on. Come on. Give me a piece of that. Look at this thing. Just random numbers. Target's here now, white dotted line. First target might be here. Picking that breakout zone perfectly. So you're just looking at a Rorschach test. You're just staring into what you know. Oh, look, it's going. Oh, look at. It's hilarious. So that's the 15-minute pivots with the 4-hour chart. Look at the daily. Wow, it found that bottom back. Look how it called this bottom. That's what I'm talking about, people. That's the daily chart. Come on. Kind of almost called this bottom. Man. So they trapped the bulls on that 1 minute wick, and we're going to buy in pullbacks now. This is what I call aggressive trading. Lots of orders. Alrighty then. Pull back on the 1 minute. Buy at the pivot on limits. Alright, let's see this puppy go nutsoid. Poor thing. Nobody likes the euro dollar. Aw. Alright, they trapped these guys. That's the big 1 hour blastorama. Trap down here. Come flying back up. Cha-ching. Now buying limits back to fair value. Which if you set this pivot hasn't updated yet on the other time frame. Okay, another moment of truth. This was the breakout point. Gonna hold in here and go screaming up. I always hated this trade. I would never buy at this point. I'd just sit in everything I'm in and let it cash out and then reload on limits and walk away. Go out and kill somebody, come back later. Just throw some monster grid in down there in Disneyland. So the retracement. This is the retracement trade if it keeps going up. So it'll just become that, and nothing you can do about whether it becomes a retracement trade. Only the market knows. Only the shadow knows. But look at him take it up to this. So here's the trap zone. Right up in, from here, I'd say this wick to here, this is where the sellers come in like nutsoid. And they're able to make so much money range trading that thing. They'd be up in that trade right now. They sold off this Holy Grail indicator right here. Alright. Time's a wasting. We got 6 minutes at bottom of the hour. Europe's going to close. There might be a big short squeeze. Everybody's like, what? The euro at 109? Were you nuts? Okay. Last gust of wind here. And then we're going to go hunting down the high of the week. Up on that wick. Daily's just punished to the floor. We got the opening price right here on the magical pivot. The Pivot Meister. Look at this. Perfect 15-minute. Buying pullbacks. Okay. I think I got out of some tickets right up there. So as that's coming up in there, I actually got out of stuff. So I just go pure limits now. I'm in really light. I rode most of that out for the profit. Now we're just looking for follow through. If they can really, if this was really the big wick smash and grab. So there was a great window there to have the trap entry. And it's just 1 minute chart. So wait 6 minutes and take a look at this in 6 minutes. See, this pivot's probably going to be, everything should tighten up if the market gets quiet. So we're back at the pivot. If you're buying on the 15-minute pivots, you just bought the center there. Got nothing against pivots. It's just what you do with them, I suppose. I put buy stops in. Okay, now I'm just going to load up here. If they don't go up, then no harm, no foul. Putting all 4 orders in. Equal amounts. So I'm basically in a 12K stops right now. Another 4K. Another 4K. Another 4K. So if you really want to trade 100K, let's say let's get in like 38K. That's the magic number. You put that together with this indicator, and like you cannot, I mean, come on. You're going to have the Mensa Society knocking on your door asking for a donation. We're about 10 seconds from the update of the indicator, and I bought I have stops and limits right at the pivot. We're still at this white line, and to put yellow lines up on the structure levels. Okay, so everything just tightened up. Now we're below the pivot, and the 1 minute chart has a beautiful touch here on this one. And look how this calls the bottom of the day. I'm going to post this magical indicator in the comments section. So feel free to play with it. I set it to 15 minutes here. It doesn't get any better than this. Pure magic. Free magic. One guy said in a video today that it's the worst presentation ever. And I said, thanks. Love that. I know I'm on the right track. And people are hating it. If you don't like it, man, it's got to be working. So I loaded up on buy stops here. I'm going to let it go. Targets are now on the, look at the 4 hour. Once again, this doji's banging off my perfect indicator on the 15. So you can see inside the indicator, I've turned off the numbers and I've only left certain things. I'm also going to put this in the hightail site, the latest version of this. But what I said was on the yellow, I'm telling the computer on yellows, give me that S21 level, support 21. So R is resistance and support is 21. So if we go to R20, S21 support mode, we're at this number away. Then that next yellow line, I basically picked like S5, S9. S5 is 1% away. S9 is 1.8. But you could pick every one and see the market bounce off it, but just not to overtrade it. Or you could pick out, as soon as you change this to a bigger time frame, then you're going to see less trading or less pivots pop up. S14 I got marked on here, which is at 0.28, so it's like an even interval, 1.28 to 1.8. This is the fringe. This is as far out as I go. You could set these all to, once you get it running, you could say, oh, I want to put this at maybe Fibonacci expansion, whatever have you. 21 was the Fibonacci here. Now if I just turn down the 21 and I just turn on the 13 and I turn on the 8 and I turn on the 5 and I turn on the 3, and then you'd see this, so you could do a Fibonacci version of it. And that's always going to be changing based on every 15 minutes that goes by. Here it's just kind of, I don't know. I guess I wanted to just do the color thing. You could, I don't think there's a limit of how many of these handles you can put on here. So in top of the hour, we'll see what the ATR looks like. I'm going to mark off the... So this doji is still a big deal, and you can see right at this line here is that doji, or here's the top of it. There's the body just surrounding this little narrow zone here. Pretty amazing. Definitely a great target. Okay, we held the pivot. Now we're looking for a ride north. That's 1 minute chart. We're looking to take out this wick, go punch through the high of the day, zoom into the top of the hour, and maybe the targets expand. I'm not going to do it in here, but you could be dragging your targets up to the yellow line this is a demo account and I have predefined exits, but I did put in some new orders in here to get to actually add to this position, and they never slammed it back. So maybe this really is the big engulfing. So at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you would just look back in history and see a big engulfing candle there. If you're still on that ride for the swing, you're certainly got to love that trade. The contrarian entry trade. The screw the crowd, let me make some money, for God's sakes, Look how this thing's got it right on the wick. The 15-minute. Just simply magical. This indicator's magical. I gotta go outside and see if any black helicopters have showed up in this 1-minute chart. And we updated that thing 15 minutes ago. Pivot's changed. Here's the center pivot, that white line. Here's the support. Count the yellows. The bullish target is way up here. It's waiting. Still waiting. Just about waiting.